Now that the Blumhouse Halloween Trilogy has ended, and it ended totally fine, totally great, everybody was happy, there was no problems whatsoever, I thought, why not talk about this trilogy as a whole and give our final verdict on it, shall we? Hey, what's up, you guys? Nick at the Lost River Drive-In here, and as you guys know, it's been a crazy few weeks for me, so I apologize for some of the silence and not a lot of regular uploads, but I am back tonight. I'm going to continue to keep up with the videos. Just took a little bit of time to kind of get some stuff in order. But tonight's video is one that I've been wanting to make since Halloween Ends came out. We now have Blumhouse's trilogy all out there in the open. We've all seen all three movies. We all have our thoughts, and I thought, why not break this down, talk about the trilogy as a whole, what it accomplished, what it didn't accomplish, and give a final verdict on it. So starting off with Halloween 2018, it was a big deal. I mean, it was a big deal when it was announced. The horror community and really just casual moviegoers were really interested to see this, especially us Halloween fans. Jamie Lee Curtis was back, John Carpenter was on board in some capacity, Nick Castle was back as the Shape, although we come to find out in one scene, but still, we were all pretty excited. This was big news, and it was probably the event movie of that year for a lot of people, but definitely the horror community. And Halloween 2018 comes out, and David Gordon Green and Danny McBride wanted to attack this movie and approach it in a way of, we want to modernize Halloween, we want to get rid of all of the baggage from the previous sequels, from all these storylines, and we want to bring it back to basics. Laurie Strode versus Michael Myers. This is the true sequel to Halloween 1978. In ways, Halloween 2018 exceeds expectations and succeeds in that. In other ways, it falls flat on its damn face. Halloween 2018, what it gets right. James Jude Courtney as Michael Myers is phenomenal. He may be my favorite Michael in the entire franchise. Actually, gun to my head right now, I would probably say he is. They nailed that. Jamie Lee Curtis, as always, is great. She's great in this role, even with a crappy wig. Just like H2, am I right? Also, the aesthetic, the vibe, the feel, the fall atmosphere, it's nailed in this movie. The kills, great. Halloween 2018 delivered the goods in the areas that you would want it to. Kills, Laurie, Michael, fall atmosphere. I would be remiss if I did not mention the absolutely amazing score provided by the man himself, John Carpenter, Cody Carpenter, and Daniel Davies. What Halloween 2018 doesn't get right in some ways is a lot. And I'm not going to go over all of it, but I'll give you some bullet points. One, the dialogue. There is a lot of dialogue in this movie, and that is just not great. And if you're a fan of the movie, awesome. I don't dislike the movie. I am ambivalent on the movie. I think it's a pretty well-made movie, and I like it enough. But there is some really cringy dialogue in here, and you can tell it's Danny McBride, probably mainly, trying to write how teenagers would talk. But he was a teenager like 30 years ago. So it's kind of like, eh? And that's really the vibe that I get from a lot of that. I don't hold it too much against the movie, but it kind of does stick out like a sore thumb sometimes. The Laurie and Michael thing. Look, everybody deals with trauma differently. Everybody, if you deal with PTSD, if you have something traumatic happen to you, you're going to process that in your own way, and you are entitled to do that. However, I did not feel like this portrayal of Laurie Strode was in line with what I would have expected from that character, only having encountered Michael Myers one night 40 years ago, and a couple of her friends died. And again, maybe she did become obsessed. Maybe it is realistic to some people, but to me, it was a hard sell. Because I feel like the Jamie Lee in Halloween H2O, the Laurie Strode, I should say, in Halloween H2O, is far more believable, and she went through even more shit. You know, Michael was her brother, and more people died because Halloween 2 was canon. So I just feel like that was a little over the top. Sartain. I didn't hate the inclusion of the character. I liked having another doctor that was, following Michael and obsessed with Michael. But it goes to a point. I understand that he was there to get Michael from point A to point B. He wanted to see Michael v. Laurie Strode. Totally get it. But how we get there is really clunky and at times cringy. And y'all know what I'm talking about, so I don't need to dive too much into that. But the biggest thing for Halloween 2018 with me is some of the performances. The dialogue doesn't help them. I do not find Andi Matichak to be very strong in this film. I do not find most of her friend group to be very strong at all in the movie. I think that there is a lot of overacting by some people. I feel like Judy Greer is criminally underused in this movie, and she is just an insufferable biatch, and I know that's the point. She's a great actress. Again, whether it's more script, whether it's more performances, both of them fall flat in a lot of ways in this movie. Not Jamie Lee, not Michael, but a lot of the surrounding characters leave a lot to be desired. But Halloween 2018 blew the doors off the box office, made over $250 million. It was I think it still is, the highest grossing R-rated slasher film of all time. And Halloween was back in a big way. So Blumhouse and Universal and Trancas and everybody involved are like, we're doing a trilogy, baby. So we get Halloween Kills just 3 years later. It was supposed to be 2, but it ended up being 3 because of the C word. Now, Halloween Kills. I remember the hype train for this movie. Everybody was excited for this movie. They talked a lot about how this movie was just going to be in your face, crazy, badass. And the hype train, it was there. Everybody was super excited. This movie dropped. And I thought that this was the lowest this fan base would get. There were 2 factions. I loved this movie. I was offended by this movie. There was really no in between there. Me, I was someone that generally fell on the side of loving it. Not as vehemently as some do, but I really, really, really do enjoy this movie. What Halloween Kills gets right is a lot of what Halloween 2018 got right. It gets the kills right, absolutely right. Some would say too well in this movie. I would disagree. I love it. It gets Michael right. Oh my God, if Michael Myers is not the ultimate slasher in this movie. I'm not saying overall, we all have our opinions. I'm just simply saying in this movie, Michael Myers is portrayed as unstoppable. He is a force to be reckoned with. And boy, does he deliver. Jamie Lee Curtis, although she's not in the movie a lot, she gives one of the better performances in this movie. Allison is better, I think, acting-wise, Andi Matichak, but I don't feel like they gave her enough still. And I feel like the script is lacking there. We'll get into the cons. I'm getting ahead of myself. Big John and Little John. Again, where I had an issue with Halloween 2018 trying to force comedy in there and write like teenagers and it not working, this movie really pulled back on the comedy. Really, really did. But you have this comic relief of Big John and Little John, and it's funny, and it's enjoyable, and it's lighthearted, and it's just good. I liked them. Fall atmosphere, great. All of that's great. Here's what Halloween Kills doesn't get right. People talk in this movie like people do not speak. Seriously, they don't. Everything is some like Shakespearean quote. Everything is like, up to, like, and not even turned up to 11. It's turned up to like 25 on a scale of 10. Like, it's just, some of the dialogue is insane. Where it's like, why is this in an R-rated slasher movie? Like, what do we think we're doing here? Like, do we think we're making something deeper than we are? Because this is really just an epic slasher. And it should have just been that way. But again, just like Halloween 2018, overall, the script is lacking. The dialogue is lacking. However, I think a lot of the performances are better here. Cameron redeems himself, gives a good performance, and I actually like his character. Lindsay's great in the movie. Laurie is great in the movie, even if she gets some shit dialogue in the movie. A lot of the surrounding cast is better in this movie. But we get into the one that everybody loves to talk about. Evil dies tonight. Look, if you would have said it one time, you know, for dramatic effect, I'm like, okay, whatever, sure. Look, y'all, I'm a defender of this movie. I like this movie. I can't sit here and lie to you and say it's not in this movie a lot. It's in this movie a lot. It really, really is. It's said a lot. It's delivered by a lot of people that have not read lines in a really long time. And oh my freaking God, does it show. It's almost laughable at times. It really, really is. Halloween Kills also shoots itself in the foot. And we'll get to why with the next movie, but it's building Michael up to be more than a human. Well, when the next movie's called Halloween Ends, clearly there's going to be an ending. So again, Kills does everything 2018 did right. It's just more fun, got more kills, better makeup effects. It's just kind of an awesome slasher. But what 2018 got wrong, Kills still gets wrong in the dialogue department, in the script department, and some of the character decisions. There's still some shit in here that's just like, oh, whoa. But then fast forward a year and Halloween Ends comes out. And remember when I said that I never thought I'd see the fan base like they were with Halloween Kills? Yeah, it was way worse with this movie. Holy shit. Halloween Ends comes out, and it's not even like one, this faction of people liked it, this faction of people didn't. No, it's this faction of people liked it or loved it, and everybody else was, you are an idiot with no taste and not a true Halloween fan, and you should die. That's the other faction. Kind of all rolled up in a ball there. I have met people that didn't like the movie that have been respectful. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you're all like that. But I'm saying the people that really hated it like that, a lot of them are really like that. They really feel that way. They feel very strongly about it. I guess the movie did something right to elicit a reaction that powerful from people. But my God, have I not seen a movie really divide people like this in a really long time. Halloween Ends. Let's just talk about what it gets wrong first. And this might be controversial. They should have introduced Corey earlier. I agree. They should not have waited till the third movie. It is kind of out of left field, and Rohan Campbell gives a great performance. I would have loved to see him in this trilogy because we did not get a lot of people that were nearly as interesting as him throughout this trilogy. Number two, there isn't a great Halloween aesthetic in this movie. Now, that's not to say it doesn't look gorgeous, because it does. Especially the blues at night. I think the cinematography is fantastic. But they don't really lean into the Halloween aspect of it. There are moments, the beginning, especially near the end, Laurie's house at night, there are moments. But overall, they don't really lean into that. Positives, though. Rohan Campbell's awesome. Corey Cunningham is super interesting. Love or hate the character, love or hate the decision, it is damn good. It's a very interesting story. Whether you think it makes sense, whether you think it pays off, that's beside the point. It's very interesting. It's a swing, it's a big swing. It landed for me. I know it didn't land for everyone, but I thought that was a very, very interesting route to go. Jamie Lee Curtis is the Laurie Strode I knew from 1978 again. She's not this Sarah Connor wannabe delivering Shakespearean lines while, seemingly looking at a camera. No, she's Laurie Strode again. She's, playing with her hair. She's nervous. She's awkward. She's shy. But when the shit hits the fan, she's the badass final girl. She is great in this movie. Andi Matichak actually gets to show that she can act. I am so glad to say that she can act. She does very well in this movie. The kills in this movie, very good. And even some of them play off screen or play out of focus on screen to leave some to be desired. And that's really, really cool when you can kind of tease your audience like that. I really, really dig that. The script. It took 3 movies. 3 movies. But we finally got a movie without anything like Evil Dies Tonight or without saying grandmother over and over again. Thank you, God. Without a bunch of forced comedy. This movie plays very straightforward. It's very much like this dark romance while also focusing on this manifestation of evil and evil itself and how this town has been infected by Michael Myers. Not just the people in it, the town as a whole. And because of what he has inflicted on this town, they always have to have a boogeyman. And they will create one by any means necessary because this town is just damn near cursed. And I love that. I thought it was very, very interesting. But the script is damn good. The thing about, I should say, I didn't mention this with Kills, I'll say it with Ends as well. All 3 of these scores are absolutely phenomenal. They knock it out of the park in every single movie. Kudos to y'all. Just brilliant. Ends is my favorite score. It is one of the easiest ones in recent memory of a horror film to listen to, front to back for me. I think it plays really well. It's got some very haunting themes. I love the score. The soundtrack is a banger in this movie too. The biggest thing for Halloween Ends for me is that they took some risks. And for me, they paid off. For me, they made sense. For me, they interested me. And for me, I was happy with the end result. I didn't even need the final fight. And I know some of you might be like, what is wrong with you, dude? I'm just saying, I didn't need it. It didn't under-deliver for me, it was epic in its own right, but I was interested in everything else. I was interested in this character study of Haddonfield as a town. I was interested in evil as a force. I was interested in those things. Trauma, grief. I was interested in that. I didn't need the final fight. It's, again, not a bad thing. I just didn't need it. So, whatever. They crafted, to me, the most interesting of the three movies, the movie that had the most to say, and the movie that just took some swings. And I loved it. I really, really did. So, we end up with a trilogy. And what are my thoughts on this trilogy as a whole? Well, I mean, it was uber successful. $500 million between the three movies, with not even $100 million combined in budget. So Blumhouse, Universal, Trancas, they all got fat from this trilogy. Believe me, they did very, very well. Very successful. Although Halloween Ends was middle of the road critic-wise and Halloween Kills was middle of the road critic-wise, still better than like all the other Halloween sequels, believe it or not. Halloween 2018 was generally regarded as a success across the board. So, but I can't lie and say that this trilogy flows concisively, because it really doesn't. It just really doesn't. There's things that are out of place. There's things that don't work side by side. So like if you watch them back to back to back, some things would be jarring. I don't know how often I'll ever find myself watching them back to back to back, but I think on their own, every movie in the trilogy works. Like in their own way, I think they all work. I probably will find myself watching Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills more. My final verdict on that is Halloween 2018 is the least interesting of the three to me. Because Halloween 2018, although, again, like I said, a very well-made movie, technically speaking, it's just the safest. It doesn't take really any risks, and it's just not as memorable to me. I'll remember Halloween Kills for being just absolutely insane. And I'll remember Halloween Ends for pissing everybody off and being super different. For better or worse, super different and super creative. As a whole, I would say the trilogy was a success. I mean, when we look at it at face value, what did we have before that? We had Rob Zombie's two movies. I didn't care much for the first one. I loved the second one. We look at the two before that, H2O and Resurrection. Two movies I really don't care for nowadays, but I will give H2O credit. It's a pretty damn good movie, but Resurrection is just, no. The Thorn Trilogy. It's been since the Thorn Trilogy, really. Since 1995, where we could say we had a trilogy of movies that, although all three of them aren't great, they're pretty good as a whole. They're pretty good as a whole. And I would say that this trilogy has been a success. Financially, to the fans, in some ways, fans might love 18 and hate Ends, or love Kills and hate 18, whatever it might be. I think for any Halloween fan, there is something in one of these three movies. So I think the final verdict is that it was a success, financially and as a horror fan. I think that it helped reinvigorate the slasher craze again. I think it's a big reason we got Candyman back. We got Chucky back. I think it's a big reason we're getting Friday the 13th back. We got Scream back. Thank Halloween 2018 for that. When they proved that this was still marketable and viable, people just jump back on the slasher train. And I'm glad to see it. I really, really am. Just want to know where the hell Freddy is. But all things considered, I think that this was a successful trilogy. And although you can tell they didn't have it all planned out, and you can tell that some things don't mesh well together when you watch them all together, each movie on their own, it works for better or worse. I would rank them just like this: Halloween Ends, Halloween Kills, and Halloween 2018. But I do not think there's a bad movie out of the batch. And I will go through the rest of my life being appreciative of Blumhouse, as critical as I can be of Jason Blum and Blumhouse at times. I will always appreciate him and the studio for bringing Michael Myers back, taking him seriously, making him appear to be the godfather of the slasher as he is and rightfully should be portrayed as, and just making people take this series seriously again. It means a lot. It had been a long decade, and I really hope it's not another decade before we get to see him on the big screen again. So, overall, if I'm going to give this a letter grade, I'd say the trilogy's a B minus. I'd say Halloween 2018 is a C plus. Halloween Kills is a B, and Halloween Ends is an A. A plus, fuck it, A plus. I'm doing it, whatever. It's a decent trilogy. It's pretty good, and there's something for all the fans. But I've said that like 18 times now, so I'm gonna go. But you guys let me know down below in the comment section what you think of this trilogy as a whole, now that it is all said and done. Understand, my opinion is not the right one, it's just mine. Also understand, your opinion is not the right one, it's just yours. But regardless, I want to hear what you think of this trilogy now that it's over, now that the dust has settled, and where you want to see this franchise go next. That will be my next upload this weekend, where I want to see Halloween go next. But until then, enjoy this video, leave a like, comment, share it on social media, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and this is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I've got peanut butter on my penis.